The Morning Brew podcast with Jaffe and Razor, sponsored by Berkshire Bank Home Lending. Where you borrow matters. Nothing witty, nothing snarky, nothing even attempt at being Billy funny here. We're getting right into it as we welcome you into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, presented by Berkshire Bank. A whole lot happened in the game on Tuesday night between the Bruins and the Penguins, a game that started oh so beautifully for the Boston Bruins. And aesthetically, Razor, it was gorgeous. I mean, it was really just a wonderful first period. And things changed. Things changed in many ways in this game, and we got a lot to get to. So let's hit on the game first quickly. Let's get to that. Bruins get out to a 2-0 lead, a period that saw the Bruins really break the puck out well, transition well, take it to the Pittsburgh Penguins that looked like they hadn't found their post All-Star game legs in that first period, and the Bruins did.
Penguins were still on the beach. There's no question. They were still rubbing some sunscreen on their bodies before going out the first period. And the Bruins were great. They were all over them. David scoring goals again. No hangover from the All-Star from him. And you feel good. But watching on the couch, they had so many chances that they needed to get the third one. It was that one of the periods where they had so many opportunities where 2 wasn't enough.
Pastrnak scores both goals, the one on the power play, then, the beautiful one-timer, and then the goal on a 3-on-1 that ends up with a Taylor Hall shot that goes off of Jari's glove, who I don't think didn't look bad in the first. I don't think he looked great. His rebound control wasn't great in the first period, Tristan Jarry. Puck bounces out of his glove, and Pastrnak bats it out of midair about a foot, maybe 16 inches, 18 inches off the ice, puts it in. I mean, that's a goal scorer right there, right? But you're right. At that point, at 15:34 in the first, could they have even put another one in afterwards? It would have been nice. They ended up having 17 shots on goal in the first period. They didn't get that third goal. And then they go into the second period. And I don't know if you had the feeling watching it from home, but it was just kind of like, don't be one of those games where you go sit in the locker room after 20 and you just go, oh, all right, not that we've won the game, but now we're going to do things a little differently. And then, because that's sure as hell, to my eye, what it looked like.
Yeah, and they still had some good chances in the second, I thought. I didn't think it was too bad. I think as a goaltender, I'm sitting there looking at it from Jeremy Swayman's point of view, where I just got called up from the minors. My team played amazing, but the all-star goalie at the other end just basically stole the period, even though they're down 2-0. And I have to try and stop Sidney Crosby. And that's what ended up happening was you get a couple bad, not good goals in the second, and the momentum deflates, and now you're scrambling in a game. You feel the rest of the way, both as a goaltender and as a team, that you should be up 4-0 at this point. Like, we gave this guy everything, and now we're down by 1. So it looked like it was frustrating for the Bruins once those couple goals went in.
Well, yeah, I mean,
we saw that boil over at the end, by the way.
Yes, yeah, and we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that big time coming up in just a couple of minutes here. But so the Bruins start turning the puck over, though, more in that second period. That was the difference. I don't disagree. They had some great opportunities, but it was after the 6.5, 7-minute mark remaining on the clock in the second where they started to get a lot of their great chances. Until then, it was okay. But the first goal, turnover neutral zone, Hall's trying to get up. Carlo gets into the play. They transition back. Danton Heinen comes off the bench. Maybe the D doesn't pick him up. And see him. He makes a good move. I look at that goal and I'm like, that's a good move by Danton Heinen. He's got speed, accelerates. I don't know what you do as a goalie right there because you got to read the play from the pass, and then you got to, stand up on him, and he goes to the backhand. I don't think that's a bad goal. The second goal, yeah, that's a bad goal from a bad angle that you just can't go in. Is Danton Heinen scores his second goal in a matter of 2 shifts, basically, scoring from the right wing side. How did you see that goal? I mean, it almost looked like it hit him in the right shoulder area, and it looks like he was just fighting to feel the puck. That's the way I looked at it, Razor.
Yeah, he was really fighting it off, and that's the goal. We talk about the RVH, right? We talk about a few of those goals Linus gave up where he went down early, but that's a strategy, that's a play. In this situation, it's just as simple as Swayman's trying to smother it with his chest, with his glove, but he doesn't get it early enough. He drops early, and it pops out of his glove and up and over, and then it's a crime scene at that point for a goaltender because you know it's going over your back. You're just trying to keep it out, and it goes in. And there was no traffic, there was no screen, there was no pass option. That was just a straight shot that he read the entire way. So, not ideal at that point of the game. Again, when you have the All-Star down at the other end making a bunch of saves, it deflates the building and the team.
So, do you think it deflated the team as much as it actually gave Pittsburgh the old, all right, guys, we're fine? They knew they didn't play well in the first. They knew they got when I say their asses handed to them, it was just,
Mm-hmm.
it was go, go, go. It was the Bruins taking it to them. The Bruins, the reason I asked that is after it's 2-2 and then they score the power play, go 3-2, but the Bruins had a ton of chances. Like, I didn't see them so much as deflated, Razor, as I saw Pittsburgh just saying, okay, we've got energy. We're going to be okay. Or the Crosby goal, good goal or bad goal, in your opinion? The one from the right, the blocker side, or the left wing side from Sidney Crosby on the power play?
That's you can nitpick on that one as well. That's one where you'd like to see him come all the way across into the post. We're gonna see Jeremy. He gets excited at times and makes himself small as a goaltender, and that was a situation where he did that. He gets paddled down right away rather than just coming to the post, taking short side. When he goes paddle down, he drops his right elbow, he drops his right hand. That's how it goes in off of his arm. So it's similar to the first goal where if it was just those 2 goals and they win 4-2 and the other goalie gave up bad goals, then everything's okay. But in the context of tonight's game, you'd like to see he needs to get that because he had given up a bad one minutes earlier.
Yeah. So the
It's all
Bruins are down
context
3-2.
with goaltending, right? It's
Yeah.
all scenarios. If he just gives up that one that goes off his chest and rolls over him, and they win 2-1, it's no big deal. But it's cumulative, and we add them
Right.
all up.
Yeah, I mean, Barry and I both said, that we looked at each other when that goal went in, and we're like, oh no, don't let that change the game. Don't let it. But
Yeah,
it was almost inevitable because, again, I saw Pittsburgh all of a sudden be like, "Phew, okay, we got back at it.
yeah.
We're
We
all right.
dodged it. We
We
dodged it.
dodged it, right? We dodged it. We got it, and now we're going to figure it out." Crosby gets his 499th career goal. Really, though, look, if it was a Bruins goal, I think we would have said, what great puck retrieval, what great effort on the power play by the Pittsburgh Penguins, or by the Bruins if it was a Bruins scoring a goal, because the Penguins really went hard to the left wing wall to retrieve pucks, and then there's a battle, and then Crosby ends up getting to the net. The puck works its way over to the right side doorstep where Russ gets a nice pass, and actually, shockingly, he missed the net because that was open there. He put it off the apron of the net, but he corrals it, goes behind the net. Crosby goes to an area where we've seen him score literally maybe 100 goals in his career, and he just gets over there. And I couldn't tell if it went off of Carlo's stick. You say that it hit the shoulder of Jeremy Swayman, but regardless, it was that quick shot with that ugly stick blade of his, the puck
Yeah.
getting up, and he gets force on it too. And so he makes it 3-2. The Bruins get all these chances. This is where Jari was at his finest, I think, at the end of the second period. I do, because Bruins tie it up there. I think you're feeling all right heading into the third. Jari wasn't pretty in this game, but damn, was he good. I guess that's the way I would analyze it.
He's not pretty. He really is, and he's He can be clunky at times. He gets out of position and makes big glove saves like he did on Nosek. That's how he looks and plays, and he's done that for the most part really well. He had the hiccup in the playoffs, obviously, and that's going to linger with him until he doesn't. But he was an all-star, but this is his second time with being an all-star. It wasn't like this guy came out of nowhere. So he just looks odd. So until he really wins, he's that guy who wins games and plays behind Sidney Crosby and looks weird doing it.
Yeah, but he
That's
is
going to be
confident.
his thing.
He is
He
confident.
is.
Like
He
he'll
plays
go
the
handle
puck
the
awesome
puck.
too.
Yeah,
He plays it really well, really
yeah,
well. He fits on
yeah.
this team. He really does fit behind the Pittsburgh team.
No, they're a puck moving team. I do question maybe their team defensive crew come playoff time if they are similar to the Bruins, physical enough, able to handle the rigors of a series. But we're not here to analyze the Pittsburgh Penguins so much as we are to talk about the Bruins. So let's move on. As Bruins can't tie the game up, the power play in the third didn't look good. They end up giving an
Well, why
empty
was
net goal
that?
to Rust. Well, Bergeron's not there on the ice
Yeah.
in the middle.
Thank you.
I mean,
Yeah,
and we're
that
gonna
was my point. Everyone who says
right,
Bergeron's old and you see it right away within a shift. You see
right.
this team and what it looks like when he's not there.
So the play. Let's talk about Bergeron. Let's get to that third period. Coming up the right side, just inside the defensive zone, skating up the ice. Crosby comes over to take the lane on I would call a pressure, and then into a back check, and they collide. I didn't see any intent there. I didn't see any malice. I whatsoever, and I do not think that Sidney Crosby would ever do anything like that to his buddy Patrice Bergeron. Um, but it's not even a yard. It's a car crash. That's what it is, because Bergeron's isn't expecting it, and you can see his right skate lose and fly up a bit, and he goes flying into the wall, hits back, looked like a shoulder back, but then at the back part of his head hits the wall at the last moment too. And I think that's what the spotter ended up seeing, taking him off. I felt like Razor, if I remember correctly, kind of grabbed the back of his head as well right away after he rolled to to the knee area. And look, the spotter's going to take him off if he feels anything. And let's just hope now, obviously, I mean, your obvious comment is, let's just hope that it's nothing serious. Let's just hope that it was the old major, crash. You're going to stay off for precautionary reasons, and we know that you hit your head, so we're going to watch you for the next 15 minutes.
You hope he wakes up in the morning and feels okay. Whether it was any of those things, the way he went in, it was just really awkward. And nobody's and whenever he stays down too, it's something a little bit more serious when he stays down, and it's not something you get out. If it's a foot or an ankle or something, he's probably getting up and hobbling off. But so yeah, it's hard to really say where he's at or what it is, but you just hope he wakes up in the morning and feels okay. But there's no malice. So those guys
No.
battle. They love playing against each other. Marchand, Crosby, Bergeron, they're all, whether they might not be all best friends, but they're all guys that respect each other and compete with each other and love these nights to go at each other. And Sid's just trying to take his lane and slow Patrice down as he goes up the ice. That's all he's doing.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the positive here. Patrice got up and skated off on his own power. I know that might not mean a single thing,
No,
but
that means
I'm
it's not an
hoping
ACL or an ankle, or right. Like it could have been one of those
right,
things too. That would have sucked.
right, right. I mean, it was a violent collision with Patrice and the boards. Violent. It was heavy duty. So let's just hope he's sore, real sore. That's when it's all said and done. Speaking of sore, let's move to Brad Marchand.
Sore
Where
loser.
the hell do we be? Yeah.
He is a sore loser. Oh boy.
Oh my God. Sore moment. So there was a run-in when I say a run incident, near the end of the second period, where he takes the puck away from Tristan Jarry, and Jarry would look like he was going to flip it to a fan or whatever. That had to be just frustration for not scoring, right? I mean, that's what it had to be. I mean, that's the way it looked at, and it was humorous at the time. But hindsight being 2020, holy shit, was it a sign of things to come, right? I mean, Marchand frustrated.
That's as foreshadowing as foreshadowing can be. That is, yeah. It's almost funny to laugh at now, just to look at it like, oh, you could see this coming all the way. You could see it coming
Well,
now that it's happened.
well, right.
It's like the murder mystery you watch. You're
Hindsight,
like, oh yeah,
right.
I knew it was that guy. Yeah, that's that. That's what that
All
was.
along, right.
Hold
But
on.
so, like, all of a sudden, you could look at it. Well, I'm trying to look at it in many ways. And at first I saw it to the naked eye. And remember, it's at the other end of the ice from where we are. And
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
guys have a
oh, all
long.
right, what
Yeah,
happened there?
it's a ways away. Yeah, you got to watch the video, and you
Right,
gotta. It's not the same.
right. So at first I'm like, oh, he gave him a little jab, no big deal. And then he stuck his stick out. I'm like, okay, get a penalty, get him off the ice, manage it. And I'm like, no, that's not going to be anything. Then I watch it once. I'm like, well, might. And then I watch it again, and I'm like, the goalie's in his crease after making a save, and not does he jab him, but he comes over and punches him in the back of the head. And then
Yeah, he has to take a
just for
step
good
to do it.
measure. Right. Well, 2 steps actually. There's no
Yeah.
question Jari said something to him. But
Oh yeah,
that doesn't mean
and it was
squat, right?
probably horrible.
Nothing.
It was probably horrible.
But and then he comes, and then for good measure, he then lifts his stick like, Dr. Hook, like in Slapshot, right? And Captain Hook, he's gonna take out his eye. That's what he got the match penalty for. That's what he got the match.
Mhm.
And the reason that an official in that case will give a match penalty is because that can be rescinded by the league. But it's the easiest thing between the punch and the what do you even want to call it? A spear? It's not really a spear. It's a whatever to the face. The referees take themselves off the hook there, because God forbid something happens to Tristan Jarry after the fact, whether it's an injury like a concussion or a severe cut or something. The ref's like, look, I'm going to let a guy like Brad Marchand defend himself. I'm going to call the match.
Mhm.
Let him talk to the league about it right there. That's game
Yeah,
management.
it's like calling a 5-minute major to be able to go look at it and take it down to a 2-minute minor if necessary.
Right.
It's just to cover them.
Right.
Everyone can take a look at it, and we can take a deep breath after the game. But yeah, it was aggressive, and Jari said something bad, really bad, probably something that really aggravated him, and something I guarantee you he knew would aggravate him, because the game was over at that point. You make a save on him as a goalie, you're giving it to Brad Marchand as much as you can, and you know exactly what's going to set him off. And Jari said it, and it set him off. You don't think, like Letang, Crosby, these guys know what to say. They all tell everybody in the room what to say to Marchand to get him off his thing. They do.
Yeah.
They know it.
Yeah.
Probably about some, God knows what, 15 years ago. Right?
Exactly.
Like, that's what it is. It wasn't anything that happened today. It was something that happened 15 years ago that Brad still is annoyed about, that he doesn't want anyone to know.
Yeah. It wasn't like I got your number and I was in Vegas and you weren't. It wasn't that.
Yeah.
That would be, in fact, that would be like the most
you didn't make the
gracious
All-Star
thing.
game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
You could see him say something in replay. And again, I kept rewatching the replay. And each time I watched it more, I'm like, yeah, not good. Not good. Not good.
No.
So you don't see goalies get punched in the back of the head often. Now, I do feel that Jari sold it a bit. I do. He went down a little easy, or a little extra. Not easy, extra. But the fact that Brad skated into the crease area is the bad look. And it's not, again, even straight up. It's from behind or above, actually. And he gets him in the back of the head.
Yeah, and it's the stick after too. If it's just the punch, then he gets 4 minutes. They get him out of there, But then he goes back with the stick, and you could argue that, yeah, the referee's there. Maybe the linesman pushes his stick up. Brad Marchand knows exactly where his stick's going, all the time. It's all the time.
Here's the funny
There's nothing
thing.
accidental out there.
we've seen him do worse.
Oh
That's
yeah.
the fun, but this is all eyes, all cameras,
Hmm.
all everybody on him, and he lost control. A leader
Yeah.
lost control, and it's a shame because after getting suspended for the 3 games for slew foot earlier this year, that I think we all agreed might have been harsh, the way I felt at
Hmm.
least. I thought, didn't we
He
say
done
1
way
game?
worse
Okay,
before, right?
fine. Right.
He done way
Way
worse.
worse.
Just like you just said, he's done so much worse than that slew foot. He's done so much more than this, but it's still going to cost him because of everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So now the question becomes the recidivism rate, for him. I think this is his 7th, maybe
That's
8th.
a
I don't
lot.
remember. Um, we were trying to guess games. I'm awful at guessing this because I just don't know where the Department of Player Safety is going. But rhetorically asking, does it have to be over 3 no matter what? Does it have to be? I guess it I guess the more I think about it in the same year, having been
Hmm.
suspended, albeit for something very different, but being suspended, I guess it has to be. Or it's at least 3. Earlier I said, okay, you're going to get 2 games and that'll be it. But now talking to you about it, and I'm guessing at least 3, right?
That's how I see it. It starts where the slew foot, because the slew foot wasn't that bad. It really, that one, no one even saw that in the game. If we all
Right.
remember, like that didn't we didn't even register. This is on point. This is going to be on ESPN. This gets really close to having to take a phone call, and if he does that, then it's 6 games, as you told me
Well, it
earlier.
could be 6.
Uh,
Right. It means that there's, in-person hearing. If he's offered
yeah,
an in-person hearing means that it could be 6 or more. It could be above that. He still could
yeah,
get below it. I got to imagine he's
but
going
they
to be offered it.
typically,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I,
you're
I,
looking three, four,
yeah.
5 games. That's where it settles,
Yeah.
and it's not the worst thing he's ever done, but that's where he's at. And on top of it, right, the way Bruce Cassidy answered things after the game, where admitting that he lost control, he didn't do that with the slew foot. The slew foot, he's like, man, they're out to get Brad. This one
Right.
was different. It had a different tone. We all in hockey are going to feel differently than what we did with that last one, and that was 3 games. So let's set the bar there.
What does it say for Brad that he doesn't get invited to the All-Star game, but as a replacement player, Tom Wilson gets invited to the All-Star game? Even though, because Ovechkin couldn't go because of COVID protocol, they don't like Tom Wilson, right? We know that they don't. They put the Department of Player
Hmm.
Safety into a bad spot. It puts the league into a bad spot. But yet he got invited as a replacement, and Brad Marchand didn't get invited in the first place. And arguably, if he's not the number 1 left winger in the world, he's number 2, right? I think we agree on that.
Hmm.
And that he didn't.
We do.
That's how much I think they don't want him around that stuff. And I think they're gonna. That's part of the file too, Razor. It has to be part of the
It
file
is.
as the thought process for this suspension.
It is, and it has to be, and I'm sure it's part of the reason why Brad was a little riled up tonight too. That stuff gets to these guys, and it can aggravate you, and you have a week to stew about it on the beach with your family, and you're hanging out with the kids, and it's great, but you're kind of thinking about it, and then you see Trevor Zegras do his thing, and you see the guys partying in Vegas. You're like, that kind of would have been fun. I could have, that would have been nice to be a part of. And then, the whole thing riles up. So you can deduce all of this evening to some of that, I think, for Brad Marchand. And yeah, the Tom Wilson thing it's a little perplexing. Maybe he's the only guy that was at that point willing to go. Did Brad Marchand get snubbed and say, no, I'm not going this year if I'm not actually on the team? I'm not going to be the 5th replacement. You could, Zibanejad might have done the same thing, saying he had personal reasons, but certainly, I think again, hindsight tells me that he was a little rattled by all this, and he was on edge tonight.
He was, and again, he was good too for a while. The Bergeron line was good. Man, I'd like nothing more for Craig Smith to get going. He had some chances
Mm,
early too. Like, I need to get that guy
yeah,
going. Need him.
he needs
I
to get
mean,
on a pasta type hot streak
yeah,
here.
I would take a
Just
low
3
carb
and
pasta
4.
diet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
I
know.
would.
The gluten
I,
free, gluten
you know,
free.
right. Give me a. I don't need Smitty to be on a pasta tear. I need him to be on a gluten. I'll take a gluten free. You're right. That's a good way of putting it. Where it's a goal every 3 games. I'll take that. I'll
Yeah,
take that
that's
right
right.
now.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Um, so we wait and see. Bruins have Carolina on Thursday. The NHL Department of Player Safety will deal with this. I know they've clipped it. They're looking, they're talking. They will make a decision sometime tomorrow or Thursday. They will let them know, but something's coming. There's no question. He's getting something. What that is, again, I'm no good at figuring these out anymore. Speaking of figuring it
No.
out, let's end it with this. Um, Tuukka Rask reports coming out during the game, Razor, that Tuukka Rask will not continue to pursue his return to play from his long recovery from hip surgery. This reported by Fluto Shinzawa, our buddy, incredibly well respected writer, longtime writer here in town, that Tuukka will not continue his play. And the decision will be made, or I guess public, in the next couple of days. We've both heard things. We've both heard certain things. But does this surprise you? Does this surprise you at all? If these reports are accurate, which we don't see Fluto put out stuff like this very often
Mm-mm.
at all because of how type of writer he is. And it leads me to believe that this is solid. I mean, look, we've both heard that this is something that's been on his mind now for a bit, especially the last couple of days, because of how his body is not reacting well to what it needs to be an NHL goaltender.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me today. It surprised me if you told me that he'd done all of this, come back and played a game, won his first start. If you told me after that game that this was going to happen in 15 days, then yes, I would have called you out on it. But everything's just kind of come to light that after 4 games, it's going to take a lot more to get his body where it needs to be, and if it was and to your point, if Fluto says it, I mean, and goes out of his way to tell everybody this in the middle of a hockey game, then he knows what's coming down the hatch. So it's too bad, and now it's interesting how everything proceeds. But they couldn't. The other issue is, and we talked about this. They can't do this for a long time. They couldn't keep giving him
Right.
starts to get him ready. So
Right.
it's also partly him where maybe if he had like 2 more months, maybe if it was middle of July and he could work into this, but he also recognizes he's not going to go to province for 30 games to see if his game gets
No.
better. So you also have to make those kind of decisions on the fly, and that's how a lot of these careers end. That's how a hockey career ends, and it's not all of us. Most of or get to be Tom Brady and do it on a podcast, or a lot of times this is just how it works.
Well, it's like his body's telling him that this is it. And again, we're surmising
Hmm.
that this is official. And it feels, look, the biggest thing we talked about on our last show just the other day, the fact that he
Yeah.
isn't able to be out there for practice after 5 full days off, after what was a very minor, we were told, little thing, but then became, well, it's not the hip, it's the other things about it. And, Tuukka isn't feeling and he's got to get it back. And then he's nowhere to be seen, so to speak. That's the most concerning thing, the long time off. And we know that it was going to take him at least 10 days, at least, after this hiatus that he was taking here. If he came back after the weekend, he'd have to go practice for 5 to 7, 8 days, then get into some games down in Providence. And so you're talking at least 10 days, if not 2 weeks. And therein lies the issue again. Then they didn't have that kind of time. Now you're down to 30 games left in the season. And now you're going to give them 5 more games, as you said. So if it's true, it's sad, but I am glad. Look, he worked his ass off after the hip surgery. He did. He put in the time. He put in the effort. He put in the mental strain to get back at it. And he was in a very good mood. He was in a good place. And, so I'm glad that he tried it. And I'm also glad that it doesn't become the question for the next couple of weeks of, what about Tuukka? What do you think about Tuukka? Where about Tuukka? All that stuff. Because you don't want that to become, the main storyline. You just don't. It was already been a big storyline this year between Ullmark signing, Swayman going down, Tuukka in, out, etc. You don't want it to overtake everything.
No, you don't. And I think he has more than enough self-awareness, Tuukka does, to know that he can't drag this out. He was going to give it a shot. He probably had give it to the All-Star break. He probably had give it to the Olympic break in his mind at some point.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll go play in Finland. If I don't, I'll have 2 weeks to work. And then, but things changed. And now he's he recognizes the timeline. And he is the last guy who wants extra publicity for anything. He wanted to give it a rip. He gave it a rip. He'll probably, he'll always be happy that he did that, and things will move on. But it's not over yet. But
it's not over yet. These are reports again that we're referencing and we're talking about. Now we're doing this show. We're doing this brew late night after the Bruins game against Pitt. So by the time you hear this, folks, you might know more than we do at this moment, so to speak. The question I have, if this is it, remember he was able to come back sooner than we all expected, given how hard he worked, how good he felt. I'm really not asking you this. I'm floating it out there. Was it too soon? Was it too soon? Because, and it's not that he knew that. I mean, the body was responding, but to the hip, the hip was responding. But had the rest of the body gotten up to where it needs to be demand the rigors of an NHL goalie? We don't know. Maybe not. Maybe the answer is obviously no, because he couldn't handle it. Or maybe it's just the fact, here's a guy that has played a shitload of hockey in his career, took off a long time, and now the body just says, uncle, can't react well.
Yeah. Well, and I'll use the Ben Bishop's another guy. He's not as good as Tuukka. Won a Vezina, though. Went to a Stanley Cup final. Big body. He had a similar situation, only his game was in the minors. And he got smoked in the minors, and his body didn't respond, and that was it. So it happens. It already happened 3 months ago with a very similar goaltender, not as good as Tuukka, but and not as many miles as Tuukka. That's how you end. That's how your career ends. You try and play, and you can't play anymore, and all right, I'm 35 and I have a bunch of money. I've got to finish now. I can't just hang out and do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's good if this is it for Tuukka. It's good he gave it a go.
Yep.
It's good that he's listening to his body. It's good that he's listening to his mind as well. I mean, it's sometimes the mind is that ultimate computer that sometimes, though, if it doesn't connect, it can make you do funky things. And I don't think Tuukka's a funky guy like that. And that's good that that if this is it, to the all-time winningest goaltender in Bruins history, that again that he's listening to himself in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, we'll find out more about that, just like we'll find more about Patrice Bergeron, and we're going to find more about Brad Marchand in the next 24 to 48 hours. The next time that the Bruins get together on the ice for a game is going to be Thursday night at TD Garden against the Carolina Hurricanes. Holy smokes. A team that's coming in that has beaten the Bruins twice this year by a combined score of 10-1. And they're not going to be happy having just lost to the Ottawa Senators on Tuesday night. Not that the Sens aren't tenacious and pesky, whatever, but they're still the Ottawa Senators. So Carolina is not going to look past the Bruins. And if both Patrice and Brad aren't there, and obviously Tuukka, we know Tuukka won't be there, they aren't going to take it lightly on the Bruins. No question whatsoever. But in the meantime, everybody, try and enjoy, I guess, the day. We know you're not going to enjoy the game where the Bruins lose 4-2 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But try and enjoy your next 48 hours. Let's see what comes. And Razor and I are scheduled to be back with the next Morning Brew after Saturday's game against the Ottawa Senator. Everybody have a good day and please try to enjoy that coffee.